Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of the extreme weather videos. It's Justin again. I am one of the tropical and storm forecasters here at Extreme Weather. If you'd like to go see how this YouTube channel was made and why it was made, you can go back to the start of video 2 or video 1. But we're going to jump right into the video today because we have so much to talk about and so much to get to. Okay, so let's head over to our NHC map. So right here you can see we have the worrying 99L, this one, which has an 80% chance of formation and a 50% chance, meaning 50 in 48 hours and 80 in 5 days. So, what does this mean? Yesterday, when I made this video at this time, we were at a, if I remember correctly, 60% chance of formation. That means that we have actually gone up 20% in one day. And yesterday, we were at a 20% chance of formation for 48 hours. We've gone up 30% for the 48-hour period. 99L is looking very likely that it will form, and it is worrying, and I will get to that later in the video. 97L also has an 80% chance of formation in 5 days and a 40% in 48 hours, up from the 2060 yesterday. And 98L, which we're not going to focus too much on in this video, is looking like it won't necessarily form, and it is still at a 2030. Okay, so let's jump right into the main video. Here is, as we usually do, the ocean heat content, then we'll go to sea surface temperatures, and then we will go to shear and shear tendency. But here's your ocean heat content. It's basically the same as it's been for the past few days, because ocean heat content won't change too much unless you get a system to go through. But you can see our entire Caribbean is sizzling with incredibly warm, or incredibly high ocean heat content. And then down here in the Caribbean, it is also pretty sizzling with that really high ocean heat content. Now, what is worrying, very worrying, is the potential track of 98L. Right now it's about here. It's supposed to do something like this, and this is what's worrying. It will swoop and go down. Oh my, that's hard to see. It'll go down, and then it's supposed to do something like this. Now, when it gets here, it could either go a little bit like that and go into Texas, or it could go into Louisiana. It looks like Texas and Louisiana are under the gun for this system. So once again, let's draw that out and look, focus carefully on where it's going. It's going right through that deep ocean heat content, and it's going to either go like this and go into even higher ocean heat content, or it's just going to continue to go in extremely favorable environments and go towards Texas. Okay, now let's get to our sea surface temperatures. Similarly to ocean heat content, sea surface temperatures do not change very much in a 1 day period, quite obviously. But you can see we have almost 32 degrees Celsius waters over all of this part of the Gulf. And what's so annoying and worrying is this is where 98L is, and it's going to move and go right into that. It's going to go right into those ridiculously warm sea surface temperatures, and it's not going to be a good situation when it does that. It's going to stay over the Gulf, which has sea surface temperatures of at least 30 degrees Celsius, the entire Caribbean. I meant Caribbean, not Gulf, sorry. And then it's going to move into the Gulf and go over even warmer sea surface temperatures. Just to show how warm they are, over this entire area, we have at least 28 to 29 degrees sea surface temperatures. At least. Over in this area, we have well over 30 in this entire area. Let's get that part too. Oh, well over 30. The entire Gulf is well over 30. Okay, now let's move on to our shear. So, this is as of right now, and shear actually has changed quite a bit from yesterday's video. Yesterday we had an entire area right in this general vicinity of at least high shear, 40, 30 knots. Now you can see that part of it is definitely decreasing, like over here and over here. And it's worrying because this is the environment 98L will be going into. The shear is going to continue to decrease across this entire area, and this giant blob of shear will move north, and we're just going to see what happens at that point. We're going to see if the shear subsides to a point where there's basically none. If there's a little bit, we'll see what ends up happening, but right now it's looking like it's going to be favorable for intensification. Okay, now we will move to shear tendency, and you can see in the negative and positive numbers, you can see how we have positive negatives, negative 10 in the past 24 hours in where 98L is. We have positive 10 over this area, however 98L is not even going into that area, and we have negatives across the entire Gulf. The entire Gulf has gone down in shear over just the past 24 hours. Now, let's see, if we're going down in 10 in 28 hours, do some simple math, and it's not good. It's not good. 24 hours from now, we could be seeing very little to no shear in this entire region. And 98L is right here and moving this way. Okay. Let's move on to 99L's satellite imagery. If I've been saying 98L or 97L, I apologize. I mean 99L for right now. There's a lot of them to keep track of, and sometimes I, mess up my words, call 99L, 98L, 98L, 99L. You get it. But just keep track of which one I'm talking about so that just in case I say that, it does not get confusing. Alrighty. Here is 99L on satellite imagery. So, let's see where our circulation is. You can see a very distinct circulation right here. You can see it circulating in a counterclockwise direction, which all storms in the northern hemisphere do, but you can see it circulating around there. So, why is that worrying? Not only does this thing have a distinct circulation right now, but there is deep convection continuing to fire during D-min in its center. We're at D minimum right now. When we're at the D max tonight, it's going to be a worrying situation. We could have a lot of deep convection fire right in the center of this system. It's going to continue to move this way before curving up, and there will likely not be land in its path for this thing to really just not intensify and organize. It's a worrying situation, and it is not a good situation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Models have trended a lot stronger. Every model has, and it's a worrying situation. I'll get into models later in the video, but I just wanted to put that out there, because I want to make it clear that this thing does have the attention of everybody who even understands weather right now, and I'll go more into detail on models later in the video, but just judging off of what this thing looks like on satellite, we can tell that it's going to be an ugly storm in the future. All right, let's move on to intensity and track guidance. Okay, so here we can see we have our intensity guidance, and if you see this is worrying. I'm actually going to explain a little bit. So I actually recorded intensity guidance for the 18Z models. However, as I was filming the video, the OOZ model guidance came out. So I decided to refilm it because it basically went from the top model showing something like this to the top model going almost to category 4 status. So that's a big uptick, and I wanted to show that because I was actually thinking on the 18Z, why are the models actually only showing this getting to weak category 1? I think there's a good chance it could get much higher than that. And now majority of models are going to at least mid-range category 1, right around here before it weakens. And usually it'll probably do something like that because it'll make landfall. But some of the models, some of the more like the ones who really upticked, are showing something like this. And this is concerning. I mean, a lot of the models are getting this to category 2, even some getting to category 3 before landfall. If I were to be a model on this, what I would probably do is something like, maybe, so right here, we're flattening out, we're going through the Gulf, and then we're gonna go and continue, and then maybe in the Gulf we see a period of more rapid intensification, maybe get up to Cat 2 or something, landfall, right? It could get to Cat 2, it could get maybe only to Cat 1, or it could go above Cat 2. They're all possibilities right now, and honestly, it's getting scarier and scarier with every single model intensity coming out. It gets scarier every single one. From the 18 to the 00, it went crazy. The H-Warf from the 18 to the OOZ went wild. I'll show that later in the video. But yeah, they are definitely uptrending and upticking. And this thing could form within the next 2 days. I'm going to say that right now. Let's go to our track guidance. Okay, so you can see right now we're here. And we're going to go and go. And this is why models trended stronger. You can see the track they're taking. You can see that track, how it stays over the open water right here. You can see how it stays right in between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba. It stays between them, and it does not have any land interaction. Before, a lot of the models had this going right through the Yucatan Peninsula, and that had it being a lot weaker of a system because it had a lot of land interaction. And now that this thing is forming a lot faster than expected and organizing a lot faster than expected, you're going to have the center being around here. You're going to have the center be relocated to the east and to the north, and then it's going to go through in between the islands, most likely. And then we have problems because it could make landfall in Louisiana. It could make landfall in Texas. It could make landfall more eastern Louisiana. This is your 3 main areas. These 3 right here. This is where you're watching out. That's your area of concern. It's an ugly situation, I will admit. All right, let's move on to 97L now. Alrighty, so here we can see 97L, and once again, it looks meh. I mean, 97L really, it hasn't impressed me too much, to be totally honest. But hey, it's an invest. It doesn't have to look incredible. It just has to have convection, and it has to be somewhat organized, and that's what 97L is. It's got the convection, even though it's dying, but it is demon. It's got the convection. It's rotating. But it still doesn't look great. And I'm not expecting it to look great. It's an invest, and it's not been super impressive its entire life, man. Actually, now that I look at it better, the circulation could be down here. And the convection could be majorly displaced due to some shear, which will back off. Yeah, I'd say the circulation is more in this area, not in this area. Yeah, that's what I would say is more going on. That's your look at 97L. Not much to really talk about. It doesn't look incredible. It's an invest. All right, let's move on to our track and intensity guidance. Okay, so here we can see 97L's intensity guidance, and just like it was yesterday, a lot of models are going for hurricane status. I still think this thing has a great chance at hurricane status. Does it have a chance at major hurricane status? It's iffy. There's things that could hold it back. But hurricane status, maybe somewhere in this area. Yeah, I'd say it has a pretty good chance at that. We have 2 models that are keeping this without even forming. Every other model takes it to hurricane status. So, I'd say the model consensus is pretty good for saying this could at least get to tropical storm or weak hurricane status. My personal track would be something like this. I would take it up, similar to the models, probably bring it. This is it, like the peak forecast I could do, and then bring it down. Um, it could also, this is like the weakest I would put it. It could also just kind of hold back for a while due to some shear, and then take a while to actually intensify, and then only go to like mid-range tropical storm status before dying off again. There's two scenarios. I would say the first one's probably a better scenario where it goes to higher end tropical storm status. Maybe brief hurricane status, but it's possible that either one could happen. All right, let's move on to track, and here we can see this is the GEFS track. Don't be caught up in this bar to the right, because I don't necessarily know why the GEFS is only showing this getting to 1005 millibars. All of the members, I I really don't know why, to be totally honest with you. I think something's up with that, but it would probably go, and like I've been saying for days, turn and go that way. Not much has changed in terms of track. 97L has basically stayed the same for the past couple days. Really, not much has changed. And now let's move on to 98L. And I'm going to make 98L pretty quick because it's just not looking too interesting. All right. Okay. So here we can see 98L, and I'm going to try to make this quick because I'm going to be totally honest, 98L does not look the best of the three AOIs. It looks like it won't even form, in my personal opinion. And the NHC is hinting at that. But here we can see, one thing that I will admit with 98L is it has had a very, very good circulation. It's broad, to say the least, but you can see it. You can see it. I mean, yeah, there it goes. You can see it. It's hard not to see. It also has been doing a pretty decent job at firing some deep convection. However, I really don't see this getting past tropical depression status. Maybe in some way it could get to tropical storm status. I don't see it happening. But there's your look at 98L. Now let's go and see some track and intensity guidance. Okay, so here is 98L. So we can see that most of the models, I don't know what this one's doing down here. That's weird. But most of the models are keeping this at minimal tropical storm status. Yesterday, and this is supporting my claim even more, yesterday most of the models were somewhere in this area. So they've dropped down a lot. They've gone from 60 knots to 30 knots, or to 30 to 40 knots very quickly. So models definitely are downtrending for 98L. And the general model consensus, like I said, is maybe brief tropical storm status at absolute most, but generally tropical depression status. All right, let's move on to the track. And here we go. Wrong thing. And here is the track. You can see that the track hasn't changed with this very much, but they have it forming, possibly maybe staying between 1005 and 1010 millibars, and then turning and going up and following actually a similar path to 97L. We have one model that wants us to get down to maybe a tropical storm, but once again, I don't really see that happening. Alrighty, let's go into our models, and this is where things will get interesting. Okay, so here is the GFS model as of 18Z on August 25th, which is today. So, as you can see, let's just quickly load this whole thing, make sure it can load. Okay, so here, as you can see, we have right now. You can see we have down here, let me actually open the beautiful Epic pen. Let's open that really quickly. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so as you can see down here, we have the beautiful 99L. Well, not so beautiful in a couple days. This is going to move up in this direction, and now down here we have either 98 or 97L. I can't quite tell which one it is. That is going to move here and up. Okay, so we are going to go forward, and you can see that we have 97L or 98L right there, and there we go. Now 99L is starting to form, and it's likely a depression. And here we have 97 or 98L. I really don't know which one it is because they're so close to each other. But let's keep going forward. And boom. Now you see 99L strengthening quickly. Now we're at probably hurricane status. So you can see it's continuing to strengthen. And let's continue going forward. And boom. Landfall at what? 957 millibars? That might sound crazy, and that might sound like it hasn't been consistent, but if we remember yesterday when I showed this video, I showed that the GFS was showing a 950 something hurricane making landfall. And I know I said that there's a good chance it won't happen, but now I'm saying it's a possibility. With the environmental conditions that are ahead of this, it is definitely a possibility, and you can't rule it out. You can't rule out a Category 3 system with this. You can't. And I'm not expecting it. I'm not trying to fearmonger, and I'm not trying to say that it will happen. Because, again, there's a chance it won't. Of course there's a chance it won't. It's weather. There's always a chance for things. However, there's a really good chance that it will happen. Okay, let's continue to go forward. Now you can see way in advance the GFS is showing a couple systems in the Gulf and Open Atlantic. This is super far out, and it's also not been the most consistent, but we have one here, and obviously one here and one here. This hasn't been the most consistent. However, I do want to mention that although it hasn't been consistent on the GFS, it has been consistent over on the Euro. So let's head over to the Euro, and let's just start over with what we're looking at for 99L. We have the Euro showing it and making it have landfall at 978. And that's been just trending up and up and up and up and up and up until the Euro showed this thing. And then, if you remember correctly, ever since we started this YouTube channel a few days ago, the Euro has been showing this same system right here. And it's at 964 millibars. It's been showing this for days now. Days, plural. So, whatever this system far out is, we need to watch it. However, it's so far out, and there's bigger things that we need to watch as of an invest right here, right now, that could potentially be significant, that I'm just going to leave this alone, this system that's been showing for a while, because it is so far in advance. So we can see what models are showing overall, but let's go and see what the HWRF and what more close range models are showing. Here we have 99L. Here we go. So you can see it forms at 981 already. Let's continue going forward. Max wind 108 knots at this point. 979, 975. Max wind 107 knots. That is Category 3 status. Now we're at 120 knots max wind. That is Category 4 status. However, I don't necessarily know why the pressure is so high. I mean, 970 millibars for a Cat 4, that would be extremely high. But max wind of 120 knots, that is Category 4 status. So let's continue going forward. 118 knots, 108 knots. Now we're down to 953 millibars. And there's Louisiana. Now we're down to 945. Here's Louisiana. We're at 945, 137 knots. Now we're deep into Category 4 status. Let's keep going forward. Now we're at 937, 937, 936, 147 knots. Now we're nearing Category 5 status on the HWRF. Now again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's so consistent with every model that you cannot rule it out. Making landfall at 936 millibars. Let's see what that looks like on simulated. Yeah, simulated satellite imagery is just as scary. And boom. Alright, well, now we see how significant of a potential threat this is. Let's move on to our closing statement and the points that we need to note. So here's our points to note in our closing segment. The Gulf states, Caribbean need to keep a close eye on the tropics, or even start preparing a bag just in case, start preparing because we are in hurricane season. However, listen to officials. We are not officials. We're here to inform and we're here to help save lives. However, we are not officials. We are not the NHC. We're not that. So listen to the officials. Although you can listen to us, the officials are the ones who you should be making decisions off of, not us. We are here to inform and we are here to help save lives and here to keep people notified when things can get dangerous. However, we are not officials and we cannot tell you to evacuate, right? We cannot tell you to leave unless officials do. And right now, officials have said just keep a close eye on this, maybe start preparing, and that's what we're going to go with also. 98L formation looking less likely, and I don't think that will happen. Maybe a weak tropical depression, we'll see. 99L, 97L looking very likely to form. I would give 99L a 90% chance of formation in 5 days, and I would even give it a 60 to 70% chance of formation in the next 2 days. It's looking very likely to form, and 99L could become a hurricane and will likely become a hurricane, and major impacts to some Gulf states are in the cards as of now. Whether it be through winds, flash flooding, storm surge, we'll have to wait and see, but major impacts are in the cards. Alrighty, everybody, I hope you liked the video, and we will definitely be back tomorrow at latest with another severe weather video, and more importantly, to be totally honest, a tropics video, because 99L is looking very dangerous and very scary. Alright, have a good day, everybody.